In a world where...
Is this thing on?
Barely.
This episode of the Just John podcast is brought to you by the random fact that the world's largest comic book collection belongs to the Library of Congress. They currently hold over 100,000 individual issues, and two of the most amazing patrons on the planet. Find out how you can become a patron of the show by heading over to justjohnpodcast.com/support. What up, homies? I'm your host, John Medina, and this, my fine ladies and gentlemen, is the Just John Podcast, episode 31 for the week of March 26th. Today on the show, Comcast is scared of Google, a new iPhone is here and it could be important. Why are some vegans so annoying, and so much more.
The local news of the week.
Comcast is worried about real competition creeping in on its territory. Over the past couple of years, Google has started rolling out their fiber program. Google Fiber is gigabit internet service. It's super fast, super reliable, and it's super cheap because Google is making it that way. And if Google specializes in anything, it's somehow making nasty money off of selling cheap stuff. Not cheap quality, but just you don't have to spend gobs and gobs of money buying it. But it works well, and you usually don't have to worry as much about them hiking prices on you all the time. Comcast doesn't like the new Google Fiber initiative, so the company is offering customers in Atlanta a new choice as part of its gigabit internet trial. Sign a 3-year contract or pay twice as much with a data cap. Comcast's promotional price is $70, which actually happens to just be the same price as Google's regular price, but Google only requires a 1-year contract, whereas Comcast is trying to require a 3-year contract. The move is clearly designed to deny Google Fiber access into the market. They want to make it to where the customers are locked in with them for 3 years so that they can't switch to Google Fiber when it becomes available in their neighborhood or for whatever reason. Comcast has also been dumping flyers and different kinds of promotional materials out that basically are saying don't fall for the hype. They've even got a website that tries to cherry pick certain facts that make Comcast internet look like it's better than Google Fiber. But the problem with the comparison is like I said, it cherry picks different features. It doesn't say what Google's benefits are that are above Comcast. And if you want, as a company, I understand that you don't want to say our competitors better, but what you need to do is show that you have more better features than they do, or more good features than they do, and that you're more beneficial for your customers in some way. After all, that's the whole point of business, is to get your customers because of some specific reason, whether it's price or quality or whatever. But instead of saying, okay, yeah, so there's certain things that Google has that is above us, but these are the reasons why you should pick us, they're just leaving all of those features out completely. The two biggest things that they're leaving out are the price and the quality of service. Fiber is cheaper if you don't get the promotional plan. It doesn't lock you into a 36-month contract. 36 months. There are very few contracts that you sign that are 36 months long. And Google Fiber's really technically faster, since Comcast gigabit plan only offers 35 megabyte per second upload speeds. If you want symmetrical speeds to where your Comcast speeds match your Google Fiber speeds, you would have to go to Comcast Gigabit Pro service, which offers 2 gigabit upload-download speeds, but it's going to cost you $299.95 a month. Now, I could understand some businesses rationalizing this internet service, but all of this aside, okay, Comcast doesn't like Google Fiber. Of course they don't. They're a competitor, and they've never done well with competition because they haven't really had to experience competition. It's the same reason why they tried to buy Time Warner Cable last year instead of just trying to compete with it and show that they're a better business than Time Warner Cable. Eventually, Charter ended up buying Time Warner Cable and became even larger, and so eventually Comcast is going to have to answer to them as well. When there's real competition in the market, the customers who you serve have the ability to say, you know what, your service is crap. You're trying to sucker me into doing this, and I'm not going to stand for it. So I'm going to leave and I'm going to go to Google Fiber, or I'm going to go to Time Warner Cable or Charter or whoever. But Comcast has never been able to handle that because of the government protections that internet companies had. And some of those rules are kind of being lifted, and I think they need to be completely lifted. The infrastructure's already been developed, it's already built in, and even if it's not, companies can come put it in. Google's doing it. They can afford to do it. There are other companies that can afford to do it. And if they want to come into the market, that's better for everybody involved except for the companies that don't know how to actually compete with other companies. And I don't have a problem with them failing, because if you're not willing to battle for your customers, then you shouldn't have customers in the first place. But Comcast is just like all the other monopolistic different companies. They're supposedly testing their own TV service that doesn't apply to their data caps and doesn't show us data usage on their stuff and this and that and what have you. And so it's going to be interesting to see the internet battle and how it continues to go on, because Comcast in comparison to Google is nothing. Comcast could try to throw everything they have at Google with their current business structure, and it would do nothing and affect nothing. And even if Google loses money on the project for 4 or 5 years, they're willing to do that to build the infrastructure, because in 10 years, they'll be one of the biggest competitors. So it's just going to be interesting to see.
Excuse me, bitch?
Apple released a new iPhone. Well, they're going to release a new iPhone. They just announced the iPhone SE, which is a new 4-inch smartphone that offers a smaller and cheaper option to the company's flagship iPhone 6s and 6s Plus. It's basically a hybrid between the iPhone 5 and the iPhone 6. It's got the body of the 5, the guts of the 6s. It's got the same processor. It's got the Hey Siri feature, the 12 megapixel camera that can do 4K video. The whole reason that they came out with this phone is because a lot of loyal iPhone customers didn't want the big, huge phablet style phones. iPhone made it because they wanted to appeal to the market that did want the phablet phones, but then they kind of forgot about the fact that, hey, there may be some people that don't like these huge phones. So they decided to make a smaller one. One of the things about this phone that kind of confuses me is that it has 16 gigs of storage for the baseline model. What's the point of even making a phone that only has 16 gigs of storage nowadays that cannot have a memory card? There's just no point. With the amount of information that people have on their phones and the fact that some apps are almost a gig themselves and the operating system takes another half of that default storage, you're down to 8 gigs and it's not enough space. And I honestly don't understand why people would even think about it if you're not a really low threshold user on your phone. Of course, you can get a bigger 64 gig model, but it's a little more expensive. But that brings me to the biggest thing about this iPhone release and the whole reason that I wanted to talk about it. The iPhone SE is going to start at $399 for the 16 gig, and the 64 gig is only $499. That's incredibly cheap for an iPhone. It's incredibly cheap for a higher end smartphone. So why is Apple doing this? Apple is known for having really expensive products. None of Apple's products are on the cheap scale by any means for anything. I mean, everything they sell is nasty expensive. A freaking stylus, the pen for your iPad, is $100. That is ridiculous. But that's what Apple's known for. When I hear about their prices, normally I'm like, okay, it's Apple. I expected it to be that expensive or more expensive. But when I saw the price of this phone, I was genuinely shocked. So I looked into it a little bit. And what I found out is that Apple is doing this because they are trying to increase their market share in a market that is oversaturated. So many people have smartphones, and Android as a whole has a bigger market share than the iPhone. And so they realized that the reason why is because people can go buy a cheap Android phone for $200, $300, $400, and then they're good to go. But when those people want an iPhone and they want the latest and greatest iPhone, they can't because they can't afford it. Especially in markets like China and India, where the yearly income of people is ridiculously low. So they made this phone with the intention of mulling some of those customers here and in other developed countries that want an iPhone but can't afford the latest and greatest, and so they decide to go ahead and get an Android phone instead. But they're also doing it so that they can break into the markets in China and India that have a ton of potential customers that don't make a lot of money. They've even considered lowering the price more in those countries so that they can break into those countries. Apple cannot sustain its growth, its double-digit growth that it's had over the past 8 years without developing something that is going to give them that, continue that growth and continue that market share. And by releasing more and more expensive phones, they're not able to accumulate the other customers that don't want to spend the high dollar on the phones. So the only other option they have is to dip their prices a little bit. Now, this is something peculiar that we don't see Apple do a lot. And so I wonder if it's some kind of new initiative that they're going to start, where they're going to start making products that appeal to the lower cost points. And when you start doing that as a company, you have to be very careful because Apple has a reputation of making expensive but durable and high quality goods, electronics. If they start making cheaper electronics and their design become a little cheaper and the products become a little cheaper, Apple's going to lose that distinguishment of making only high priced but high quality products. It'd be like if Porsche or Bugatti made a $30,000 car. People would be like, oh yeah, I can finally buy a Porsche and it's cheap, but what would be the point of having an expensive Porsche if it doesn't carry as much weight because the average person can buy a Porsche? That's the whole reason why some of these luxury brands stay luxury brands, because yeah, they may not sell as many products, but people are willing to pay more for their products because it puts on the image that they can afford those products and that they have, certain aspects of their lifestyle are higher quality than others. And while that morally may be kind of weird and stupid, that's how it works. And that's how those companies distinguish themselves. And that's how Apple had kind of been for the past few years. I'm not saying the average American couldn't afford an iPhone, but typically the people that owned iPhones felt like they were part of a closely knit iPhone community. And when they start making cheaper products, it can hinder the good feeling that they have when they go get the latest and greatest iPhone, because they know that they paid $900, $1,000 for the latest and greatest iPhone when the person right next to them paid $400 and got the same iPhone, or got an iPhone, but had to pay way less. So it's a weird situation, and I just kind of want to see how Apple's going to go. Are we going to see them start to make cheaper computers? Are we going to start to see them make cheaper iPads and different things like that? And it'll be interesting. One of the other weird things that I kind of started to realize, and I don't know why I've never realized this before, but it just dawned on me that these phone names are getting freaking ridiculous. We've now got the iPhone SE, and eventually we're going to have the iPhone SE 2 or 2S or iPhone SES, whatever they decide to do. We've got the iPhone 5 or iPhone 6S and 6S Plus. And then look at Android. We've got the Galaxy S6 Edge, the Galaxy Note 5, the Galaxy S6 Prime Edge, or whatever else models they have that are custom for the different carriers and stuff. And it just made me realize that these phone names are getting freaking ridiculous. I think that when they started naming the phones, they should have done the same thing that they've done with cars. So for example, you've got the Ford Fusion. Now, they make new Fusions all the time, and they still distinguish them by putting the year. So you've got a 2015 Ford Fusion, a 2016 Ford Fusion. So they should have did that with the iPhones and the Galaxies. They should have did the 2015 iPhone, the 2016 iPhone, 2017, 18, and respective. However, if you go 2 years between it, that's fine. That'll still be the 2015 iPhone, and then you'll jump to the 2017 iPhone. And the same with the Samsungs, the 2017 Galaxy, the 2016 Galaxy, or whatever. And then if they wanted to do the Note, the 2015 Samsung Note. Simple as that. I understand the whole flagship thing, but you can still have the iPhone. Well, with Apple, all of their phones are flagship. I mean, the term flagship would be better used for companies like Samsung that make like 50 different types of phone. But their flagship models, their really important ones, are the Galaxies, which include the regular Galaxy, the Edge, and the Notes. So flagship isn't a good term for Apple. But anyway, my whole point to that story was that they should have reevaluated the situation with these phone names, because it's going to get ridiculous. In like 10 years, it's going to be the Samsung Galaxy 27 Edge Plus heavy duty blah blah blah, whatever. Put your title here, and you're going to need a freaking whole entire line of text to describe for the name of one phone.
This is against my civil rights.
What makes somebody go viral? So I was scrolling through social media and someone asked this question. They said, I want to go viral. What do I do? And it interested me. Not because I want to go viral, but just because I feel like a lot of people probably think this, but just a lot of people don't say it. They don't ask people how to become viral. So I decided to scour the internet, and I came upon a WikiHow on how to become viral. Step 1, appreciate the varying degrees of going viral. You have to realize that a photo or a video or an article could go viral, and that a marketing ploy for your business could go viral, or something personal could go viral. Basically, just know that what the different types of viral are and how long going viral can last, from a couple days to a couple weeks to a couple months. Step 2, understand the limits of going viral. Now, this is a big one that people don't understand. Like, you may go viral in a small niche in the gaming community, or in the movie, the cinemaphile or audiophile community, or whatever, or the political community, or the millennials, or any other different type of niche that there is. And that you can't expect to go worldwide viral. It can happen, but it's not as often as niche virals. Step 3, know what flows. One of the key things behind something going viral is that it touches people in some way, and what is most likely to touch a bunch of people who are tech savvy, clued in, and ready for new information all of the time. So basically, it's saying that you need to know how to appeal to the people that are going to make you go viral, which are the tech savvy people, the ones that are constantly looking for something new and things like that. Step 4 is have value, perceived or otherwise. So different how-tos, news, warnings, freebies, different things like that can give you the value that will make you go viral. Some people are funny. That's a value that makes you go viral. So it just kind of depends. Step 5 is basically about having useful quality information, not clickbait, stupid stuff that no one's going to actually care to share. Step 6 is make sure people can find your content via Flickr, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you share it, Tumblr, different things like that. Number 7 is publicize yourself. Put your content through trusted channels like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, RSS feeds, Twitter, or wherever. Step number 8, don't overdo your content promotion. Don't promote every single thing that you put out. Promote only your best work out. And number 9, create momentum and incite action. Basically, like, ask people to retweet it, share it, do different things like that. Look for timing. If you try to put out something when a big world event is about to happen or just happened, your chances are it's not going to become viral unless it's directly related to that event. Step number 11, leave room for connection. So after I read this list, I realized that there's no actual art form to going viral. You can't make yourself go viral. It's almost pure luck that you go viral. I mean, think about it. Damn Daniel. How on earth? He followed none of these steps, except, maybe the publicized thing through Vine and crap like that, but he went viral for no reason, got a free lifetime supply of Vans because some kid was like, damn Daniel, look at those shoes. Stupid crap like that. There is no recipe for that. And the whole pawpaw thing. Like a week ago, some chick posted a picture, said Pawpaw made 12 burgers for 6 grandkids. I'm the only one that showed up. And for some odd reason, people got in an uproar about it. There was this really only pulled on maybe emotion, but people complain about that kind of stuff and do that kind of stuff all the time. Sheer luck. Somebody shared it that had a big enough following that it gained a little steam, and then it grew exponentially from there. So it's just the whole viral recipe is weird and confusing to me, and it's just interesting to follow because it's something that people try way too hard to do. If you go search the depths of the internet, you can find people, videos, photos, posts, whatever, by people that are trying to go viral that just aren't viral going material.
Hello, I'm Bill Nye. You may know me from such things as science.
All right, we're about halfway through the show, and as is tradition, I am going to go ahead and play a song. The song that I'm playing today is called Stan, and it is by the band The Unplugged Soul.
But it's not his fault.
Again, that song was called Stan, and it was by the Unplugged Soul. And as usual, if you want to hear more from them, you can find out where to find them down in the show notes below.
This is Frankie McDowell, my own TV station live in Sydney, Nova Scotia.
Batman versus Superman. It's finally here. It's finally upon us. And I'm super excited to go see it. I'm going to go see it probably a little bit after this episode drops. The reviews from what I've heard are mixed about the movie, but I have not read any of them. I tend to stay away from reviews of movies that I'm really excited about before I see them because I don't want someone else's opinion to affect my opinion of the movie or to spoil anything that's coming in the movie. There's a lot riding on this movie because DC has not been doing the best with movies, and this movie is basically spinning off like 10 other movies. So they really need to focus on getting everything right in this film. So in honor of the premiere, I have some Batman vs. Superman trivia and fun facts. Over the decades, Batman has seemingly surpassed Superman in popularity, but on the printed page, the Man of Steel was the first to appear. Superman made his debut in Action Comics number 1 in 1938, and Batman premiered the next year in Detective Comics number 27. Bill Finger and Bob Kane reportedly created Batman in response to Superman's success, so technically if there were no Superman, there may not be a Batman. Despite sharing a publisher, Batman and Superman rarely appeared in the same story until all the way in 1952 when they team up in Superman 76, which featured Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent sharing a cabin on a cruise ship, and they didn't even know each other's secret identity in the beginning. By 1954, Batman, Superman, and Robin were headlining the team-up book, World's Finest Comics, which kept that lineup intact for almost 16 years. Since 1943, Batman has been portrayed by 8 actors in 11 action movies or serials, including Batman vs. Superman. Superman has appeared in 10 live-action movies as portrayed by only 5 different actors. There have been 4 live-action Superman TV series, counting Superboy and Smallville, and only 1 Batman live-action show that was from the 60s. But one could argue that Gotham is technically a Batman live-action show. Batman's just a kid, but technically, and he's not Batman yet. He's still just Bruce Wayne. But I don't know. I qualify it as Batman. But whatever. Back in 2007, when I Am Legend came out, there was a poster on one of the buildings in the post-apocalyptic world for a Batman vs. Superman film. This was just an Easter egg because screenwriter Akiva Goldsman was referencing his own Batman vs. Superman script from 2001 that Warner Brothers rejected. Before stepping into the role of Batman/Bruce Wayne, Ben Affleck starred in Hollywoodland as George Reeves, the man who starred in Superman and the Mole Men serial and the Adventures of Superman TV series. Diane Lane also starred in the movie. In Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman, Lane plays Clark Kent's adoptive mother. So Batfleck has played technically Superman and Batman on the big screen. And last but not least, Batman vs. Superman will be the first live-action big-screen appearance of Wonder Woman, The Flash, Cyborg, and Aquaman, and is also the first official live-action story featuring Batman and Superman together. That's 6 out of 7 of the members of the Cinematic Justice League, all in this one film, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we see the final member. Even as an Easter egg within the film. Overall, I'm super excited to see it, and I'm sure I will talk about it on the next episode, some of my thoughts and feelings about the movie, so stay tuned for that.
Because I'm going to put my nutsack on your drum set!
French newspapers have started blocking readers who use ad blockers. A lot of the major French news outlets have launched a campaign against ad blocking software, with some forcing users to uninstall the programs before accessing their site. Now, this is something that's not necessarily unheard of, because Forbes and other companies here in the United States have launched similar anti-ad blocking efforts in the past. But it's getting a lot bigger. It's becoming a lot more pertinent for companies to start refusing to let you use their content if you're using one of the ad blockers. And why? Because the ads are how they make their money, especially if you're not paying for a subscription. And even if you are, chances are the subscription's not enough without the supplemental advertising income. Now, full disclosure, I use an ad blocker majority of the time, but if I enjoy the website, I'll usually whitelist them and deal with the ads because I want to support them in some way. But a solution may be on the horizon that's a compromise kind of between the two. So for more than a decade, newspapers and magazines they've been getting decimated because print advertising's going out the window and web ads don't generate as much money. And most people don't want to pay a ton of money to read information on the internet, especially when they can go to a website and usually find it for free somewhere else. Also, more and more people are getting all of their news on Facebook and Twitter. Most of the time, I do not go to a website to look up an article. I just find it on my Facebook or go to their Facebook page and find the article on their Facebook. From August 2014 to August 2015, it is estimated that ad blocking cost publishers nearly $22 billion. But all of that may change. Bindel, a Dutch news aggregator, thinks it has the solution. Founded almost 2 years ago, the platform enables readers to use a single account to purchase individual stories from different media companies without a subscription. It's an a la carte approach to consuming content on the web. The platform has over 650,000 users in Germany and the Netherlands, more than half of whom are under 35, and it launched this last week in the US with big-name partners like The Wall Street Journal, The Economist, The New Yorker, New York Magazine, and Bloomberg Businessweek. Co-founder of the company says that the current model for monetizing journalism is broken. Young people are resistant to subscribing to newspapers and magazines, ad revenue is declining, and ad blockers are putting extreme pressures on publishers. Blindel's ad-free model allows readers to get an uninterrupted experience of articles they choose. Users pay between 9 and 49 cents per article, determined by the publisher, who keeps 70% of the revenue, and the rest goes to the company. When people first sign up, they get a $2.50 credit to buy articles and test the platform. If a user does not like an article, they find it too short, too uninformative, they click on it by accident, then they are eligible for an instant refund. Some publishers don't like the model. It's new, it's relatively untested, and it has a money-back guarantee feature, which protects Blindel and its interests. But what if someone reads the article and just says, oh, I'm going to act like that was, accidental click or clickbait or what have you, and then I'm going to get my refund, and then I'm still not going to end up paying any money, and I'm also not going to see any ads. But according to their numbers, on average, about 10% of users ask for a refund. Gossip magazines, listicles, and other clickbait materials seem to have a high refund percentage, up to 50%. The biggest concern with this is that people will stop reading the news if they have to pay per article. I read a ton of articles in a week. I mean, if I was paying 49 cents per article or even 10 cents per article, I'd be wasting $5, $6 a week on reading articles, and I don't know that I'm willing to do that. And so I might just stop reading articles and figure out how to get my information elsewhere. It's one of those things where it sounds good in terms of monetization and making money, but it may not work out the way that the companies want it to work out. So I think it's going to need a lot of testing, tweaking, and maybe they can come up. It's on the road to figuring out something, but I don't think this is going to be the solution, but I think it's the beginning of the solution. March Madness is going on. I don't know a lot about sports. I don't know a lot about, I understand how sports are played, and I will watch a game, and I know who the big players are and stuff. I don't stick my head in the sand and completely not talk about sports, but I don't talk a lot about sports. But in honor of March Madness, Facebook Messenger came out with an update that will allow you to play basketball within the Messenger app. All you have to do is make sure that Facebook is updated and your Messenger app is updated, and you have to use the emoji from your phone. You can't use the app emojis that are built into the app. You have to use the emoji from your phone. You use the basketball emoji, and then once you send it, you click on it and it opens the game, and you and whoever you messaged can play back and forth, and it will show who has the high score and different things like that. It's a lot of fun. I spent probably more time than I should have playing this pointless game, but it was pretty exciting. So if you haven't done that yet, go check it out. It's a lot of fun.
The Force will be with you, always.
Speaking of playing with balls, have you heard of this bouncy ball challenge? This is something pretty interesting. So you take a red Solo cup and the video that I saw, you made a strap out of tape, but you can use whatever you want to make a strap, and you tie it around your head, and then you get a bunch of bouncy balls. You have the cup facing up on the top of your head, and you have to bounce the bouncy ball on the ground and then catch it in the cup on your head. It looked like a lot of fun, and it's something that I'm definitely going to try at like my next family get together, or when I got a bunch of buddies over. We're going to make a bunch, and we're going to try to have a ton of fun with this game. I think it'll be interesting, and I think it's a challenge that, unlike the duct tape challenge, I'm not really sure that anybody could get hurt as long as we make sure that we don't do it by anything that we could fall on because we're too busy focusing on getting the balls in our hats. I mean, not our hats, our caps, our cups. Good gosh, you would think I could talk, but I can't, apparently.
I fart in your general direction. Your mother was a hamster, and your father smelt of elderberries.
All right, well, we're approaching the end of the show, and as is tradition, I am going to do an app review for you today. The app that I am reviewing is called Damn Daniel. I know it's available on Android. I have no idea if it's available on iPhone, and it really doesn't matter if it's available on iPhone because this game is absolutely a steaming pile of garbage. And that's why I'm reviewing it. I'm reviewing it because I don't want you to fall into the same trap that I did. I'm scrolling through the App Store, looking for something to take up some of my time, and I stumble upon a game called Damn Daniel. And I'm like, for real, this kid's got a game now? Okay, whatever. Click on it. Looks like a pretty generic basic concept. You just jump and collect coins, and, you run on these little bricks or whatever. And I was like, okay, that seems like something I could mindlessly do, whatever, while I'm on the toilet or whatever. So I download it, and it really graphically reminds me of Flappy Bird, which was fine. Flappy Bird was a good game. I enjoyed it. I actually still have it on my phone. Anyway, that's not the point. So it kind of reminded me of Flappy Bird, but it's hard. It's really, really hard, and that's why it's so garbage. Don't get me wrong. I'm all for a challenging game, a game that makes me actually, use some kind of skill. But this game requires no skill. It just wants you to lose. I mean, it is ridiculously difficult. It's not fun. My top score on it's 2. 2! That's one jump that I've survived, and I've played it for probably 20 to 30 minutes. I'm not saying I'm amazing at games, but 2? It's not a good game. Don't download it. Don't waste your time. Tell all your friends. Hide your kids, hide your wives, and hide your husbands, because this game is not worth playing. If you enjoyed the show, please show me some love by liking, thumbs up, subscribing, sharing, rating, reviewing, retweeting, or whatever it is that's used to symbolize the love of the show on the platform you're using to view it. You can follow me on Twitter at JohnnyM_Revo or at Facebook.com/JustJohnPodcast. You can find the show in its entirety at JustJohnPodcast.com, and you can listen to the show on SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Spreaker, or some other shit. You can email me at JustJohnPodcast@gmail.com, and remember, without you, I'm just some dude talking to himself on the internet. Until next time, peace out, fam.